Hello, Snuggly, welcome back to another Hearthstone card review, where today we're going to be looking at the Rogue and Shaman cards that come out on August 2nd for Murder at Castle Nathria expansion. And without further ado, let's hop right into it. First up, we have a new secret for the Rogue called Double Cross, which is when your opponent spends all of their mana, draw 2 cards. Now, not only are we considering the fact that there's going to be more secrets and some secret cards, which we'll get into in a second, but honestly, just as a 2 mana, draw 2 cards that makes so your opponent, I don't know, has to try to play around your secret is actually pretty good. If there are ways to cheat out secrets, even better, which we might see some in a little bit that we shall see. But overall, even in a non-secret based deck, I think this is going to do well, as well as I think I'm pretty sure the secret package, even if it's not super good, the secret packages will be fun to play with, and I look forward to playing it on the channel. But overall, 2 mana, draw 2 cards is pretty good. Helps you cycle, gives you something to play early. Depending on the deck you played in, I think this could go in most versions of Rogue as a loose card, or at least get a random draw effect. So I rate this one highly. Next up is yet another secret called Kidnap. It is a 2 mana secret, as all Rogue secrets are. After your opponent plays a minion, stuff it into his 0/4 sack, right there. Now, for those who are curious, the 0/4 sack is 0/4 Death Rattle, return the opponent's Kidnap minion to your hand. The one downside that this has going for it is that battle cries still work, and then it gives it back to them again. So if they play a really good battle cry minion, they actually get it back to their hand when they kill the kidnapper sack. However, you can use shadow step on the sack, or you can silence it some way or whatever and remove it, which is kind of a neat way to remove a minion. If anything else, they play a late game bomb that's not a battle cry, let's say, then it counters it off the board. Even if it's something that even costs 2 or 3 mana, honestly, then you sort of just take it from them, give them another target after destroy to get their card back. This card overall, I think, isn't as good as maybe the Double Cross that we saw, where it won't probably see play in anything other than Secret Rogue, but I think Secret Rogue will be played at least at the start of the meta. And Sticky Situation, another 2 mana or Rogue secret coming out in this expansion. After your opponent casts a spell, summon a 3/4 Sabater with Stealth. Now, obviously, a 2 mana 3/4 with Stealth is really good. Hunter used to play the Cat Trick, the secret that summoned a 4/2 cat with stealth whenever the opponent played a spell, and I believe that was still get played today if it was in the standard rotation. Gives them multiple different ways for the secrets to be activated, which when we get over to the minion payoff, or one of the multiple minion payoffs, I guess, for this, will show that this card could be good in most Rogue decks, really. Again, similar to the first one, Double Cross, but especially in the secret package version. This card will be amazing at giving you back board presence, as well as making your opponent have to think around the cards that they play. I'm going to rate this one more medium to high. I'm sort of making up my own ranking system as I go. Medium to high in a secret deck, and probably only mid-tier in anything but. I see what you did there. Private Eye is a 3 mana 3/4, or sorry, a 4 mana 3/4, so a little bit more expensive for the normal stat. However, it's battle cry, cast a secret from your deck. So right away, amazing value for the 1 extra mana, I would say, for the normal stat of 3/4. And with a combo, cast 2 instead. So if you coin this out, say on 3, it becomes a 3/4 still for 4 mana. It gives you 2 different secrets from your deck, which is amazing value. And again, depending on if you just want to play the secret package in Rogue decks, or if the whole point of the deck is secrets, Private Eye will be an obvious staple. And for that reason, I would say that he's valued, again, high if you're playing the package, if the package is good enough as a whole to see play, and then probably low, obviously, if not, because a 4 mana 3/4 with no secrets is not good at all. Now, the main reason you would run, in my opinion anyway, the secret package in the new Rogue is the legendary Halkias. I apologize if I'm spelling that incorrectly, but it is a 4 mana 5/4, so much better stated than the 4 mana 3/4 we just looked at. Death Rattle, if you control a secret, store Halkias Soul inside of it. And then when the secret is triggered, you resummon Halkias, which then means that it's Death Rattle. If you have another secret, will go off and kind of keep this on the board as long as you cycle through different secrets, and it just allows for some board pressure. And this would be kind of one of the main reasons I think you'd want to build a deck around it. And it's probably not super great, but again, if you get this to go off even 1 time successfully, the stats for the 4 mana is amazing. If you can get it off multiple times, obviously even better. Now, a 5 mana 5/4 or 4 mana 5/4, not the worst. So even if they deal with it and get around your secrets, or they proc your secrets first, maybe at the very least it makes them play suboptimally. So for that reason, I think as a whole, the secret package, I hope we'll see play, and I'm going to kind of rate it all, again, on the medium to high tier. Not necessarily game winning on its own, but fun, and gives you sort of that constant plan, which is always good to have. Next up for Rogue, we have a 2-mana spell called Serrated Bone Spike. Deal 3 damage to a minion. If it dies, your next card costs 2 less. So if you have two, say 2-mana spells in your hand, and you use this to kill one minion, your other 2-mana spell is free, like Tooth and Nefarian or Wicked Stab, or let's just say those types of things. That is overall amazing on its own. Yes, it has to be a minion, so unlike, say, Tooth and Nefarian or Wicked Stab, this isn't an additional 3 damage to the enemy face for over-the-top damage, but still, I think this is going to become a almost auto-include. Even more so, when we get to the Necrolord Draka, I feel like Serrated Bone Spike is going to just be one of those cards that help you cycle through multiple cards, playing as many cards as possible, and to be able to play that Draka, which we will get to shortly. But overall, even just as is, even if it was put into road decks today, I think Serrated Bone Spike is a very powerful card. Another minion for the secret package is the 3-mana 4/3 Ghastly Gravedigger. Battlecry, if you control a secret, choose a card in your opponent's hand to shuffle it back in their deck. So it's a disruptful card, 3-mana 4/3, so again, maybe not the best statted, because of course you'd rather it have the health. But if you did play Secret, say, on 2 and it didn't get procced, and you play this on 3, it becomes a 4/3 that removes a card from your opponent's hand. Now, it's not quite as good as, say, Mutanus remove a card from your opponent's hand. I think it's very disruptive. I think, again, for the stat line, if it was 3/4, we would say auto-include as long as the secret package is in your deck. So 4/3 might make you think about it a little bit more, but at the same time, I think the payoff here is amazing. Say if you're playing against a control deck or a combo deck, you could put the combo piece back in. If you're playing against aggro, they might only have 1 or 2 cards left by the time turn 3 comes around. You can just sort of slow them down. So I would say as long as you're playing the secrets, this card is going to, I'm going to say, would be an include in that deck, which makes it, again, kind of mid to high, depending on if that entire secret package sees play. The Door of Shadows is a 1-mana rogue spell, which is draw a spell, but then infuse 2, which, in case we forget, infuse is upgrades in hand after X minions die, so in this case after 2 minions on your board dies. You also then add a temporary card of it to your hand. So you would likely want to wait till you have enough mana to play said spell. If you were to draw your Serrated Bone Spike, of course, then you could use the 2 mana from one of them, kill a minion, reduce the cost of the either temporary or your full cost 1 to 0, use it to take another minion, and so forth and so forth. And the reason you'd want to chain card effects like that is because of cards like the Sinstone Graveyard, which is the location for the rogue class in the upcoming expansion, which is 2 mana and has 2 durability, so you can use its effect twice, and it allows you to summon a 1/1 stealth ghost. The ghost has +1/+1 for each card you played this turn. As we saw, there's a few different cards in this set, but Rogue in general has a lot of cards that allows you to play multiple cards per turn, which would then allow you to bump up these ghosts potentially quite a bit. A couple mini Edwins that you effectively get for free after you pay the 2-cost mana upfront to play the location, which I think it'll be very strong in a lot of Rogue decks. I mean, it's a 2-mana commitment, and then over several turns, you just sort of activate it whenever you think. In my opinion, you're going to have at least a 3/3, just so you get 2 3/3s for 2 mana over a couple of turns. But honestly, even if you maybe coin this out and then activate it, I think it should count itself, so you get a 2/2 on turn 2, and then you just have the other ability for later, which means that you didn't actually fall behind on board, but it gives you 1 more ghost later. Now, the other reason you might want a bunch of different cards in your deck that allow you to combo off of each other for cheap or for free is the last but not least rogue card, Necrolord Draka. So Necrolord Draka is a 4-mana 3/4, so again, not overly great stat-wise, but its Battlecry equip a 1/3 dagger, which is Meldrax's dagger here, and then it gets +1 attack for each other card you've played this turn. So of course the idea here is you might combo off some of your Serrated Spikes, you use Prep to play 1, and then use like Tooth and Nefarian, maybe even Backstabs will come back into play in this deck. And before you play the Necrolord, coin it out, or whatever it may be, you're hoping to maybe get a weapon with a 5/3 stat line, right? And then as long as that play isn't just for the sake of getting the weapon, in my opinion, a 3/4 for 4 that gives you, say, a 5/3 weapon is a very powerful card. I'm sure there's going to be some combo decks out there that allow you to get this weapon up to like 10 or 11 consistently, but I think building your whole deck around it, and then with, some people still playing the weapon removal in the Restaurant Viper, especially if people think this card is going to be played, just to have someone potentially destroy it after you putting your whole deck's effort almost into playing this. I actually don't think, I could be wrong, I don't think this legendary is going to see much play, at least not successfully. Let me know your opinions on the rogue cards in the comment section down below. Like, comment, and subscribe. We're going to go take a look at the Shaman cards. One of the archetypes that I'm happy that might be coming back, I don't know if it's going to work very well, but that I'm excited to give it a try when the expansion comes live, is Totems. Now, Totems a long time ago with, I think it was Eyesore, and like replicating your totems was really good. Now in this set it's going to be a little different. As an example here, we have Gigant Totem or Gigant Totem, and it is a 10 mana 8/8, but costs 1 less for each totem you summon in this game. Now that counts the ones that come off your hero power. We'll look at some other cards here that summon you totems. I think sometimes some of them multiple totems in one go. And all of those totems count towards reducing the cost of Gigant Totem. Obviously, a card like Gigant Totem will only work if the totem package does, and I will say from my personal review, I don't think it's going to be very good. I wish it would be good, and I am going to play it. Don't get me wrong, I will play it. But I don't think it's going to compete. The cards just don't seem strong enough. You almost have to, I think, have almost all the perfect cards just for it to be competitive, not even to go over the top, which means that even when you draw well, I feel like you're just going to be competing and not rolling over your opponents, which of course, if you have to have specific cards or combos or whatever it might be, usually is what you need to have to make the payoff worth it. And I just don't think this deck will have it. So with that being said, I feel like most of these totem cards I'm going to have to sadly rate low. However, again, I will be playing it. Let me know if it's something that you're going to try too. Go along with the Gigant Totem, we have the Carving Chisel, which is a 2-mana Shaman weapon, 1/3. After your hero attacks, summon a random basic totem. So, I mean, a 2-mana 1/3, we've seen better weapons, of course, but you get 3 totems over 3 turns, which I don't think, unless you're playing a totem deck, this weapon wouldn't really be considered any good. So, again, this really depends on if the totem package is playable and good, and that will determine the value of this weapon. And here we have Party Favor Totem, which is one of the cards I was talking about that summons 2 totems. At the end of your turn, summon a random basic totem, but if you have infused 2, you summon 2 totems instead. So, I mean, 3 mana, say 0/3 and 2 0/2s as a more likely example, because they're basic totems. 0 mana 0/7. For 3 mana, it still just doesn't... Now, there is a card I'll get to in a minute that would buff up these totems, and we'll talk about that in a bit, but even with that buff, like I mentioned, maybe we'll go to that card next and we'll just talk about it there. So the legendary for the totem package is called the Stone Right. Battle cry for the rest of your game. Your totems have +2 attacks. It's a 4 mana, 5/4 with this effect. Again, stats kind of irrelevant in the sense of the fact it's mainly for the battle cry. And this is what I was talking about. If you played the Party Favor Totem after everything got buffed, technically it would be, 2 2/2s and a 2/3 for 3 mana if it was infused, which sounds really good. But again, then you're talking about absolutely needing to play the Stone Right first before any of your totem cards are valuable. Maybe Stone Right into like Macaw and Macaw to have all your totems have 6 attack could potentially give you that pressure that you need. But again, with this being a legendary, you're not super likely to always be able to have this in your opening hand, and all the other totem cards without this feel not just not strong, but actually weak. So having an entire deck sort of based around the Stone Right's Battlecry effect as of right now makes me feel like that's why this deck won't perform super well. Next up for Shaman, we have the Crude Caretaker, and I believe this goes into what I would say is going to happen with the Evolved Shaman. Quite excited to try. This is a 4 mana 1/1 Battlecry. Summon a 3/5 elemental with Taunt. So again, you'd play this, get the 3/5 elemental, and probably evolve this to make it so it's a 5 mana, not 1/1. Of course, to make sure you get the value out of your 4 mana. By itself, even honestly, this becomes a 4 mana 4/6 when you really think about it, spread across 2 bodies. So even in any deck, I actually think that this card is just good. I think the stats for the body you get are just valuable, and for that, I think that this card should be highly rated. And then in Evolved Shaman, it just makes it that much better. Now we have an 8 mana Shaman spell called Criminal Lineup. Choose a friendly minion, summon 3 copies of it, and then overload 2. In order to make this really count, I feel like you would need to have 3 really, or some really good, probably expensive minions in order for that to stick, in order for you to have enough mana to play Criminal Lineup the turn after, and then get copies of it. I mean, maybe in an Evolved Shaman, you could see this play because one of your evolved minions might stick, then you summon 3 copies of it. But I honestly, for 8 mana, I can't imagine most of your minions sticking, especially because if they're good enough that your opponent has to remove them or you're basically going to win if you make 3 copies of it, probably means that you're already so far ahead of the game that if it lived to your turn, making 3 copies of it isn't even the most important thing in the world. So because of that, I don't think criminal lineup's going to be that good. Next up, we have we have a 1 mana shaman spell called Convincing Disguise. Transform a friendly minion into one that costs 2 more. So that's pretty good on its own. It's already, it doesn't evolve your whole board or anything like that, but it becomes a 1 mana. Basically take that, say 4 mana, 1/1 and make it a 6-drop. And then infuse 4, transform all friendly minions instead. So if you get a good, if this gets infused and you have 2 or 3 minions on board, and then you play this, it evolves your whole side of your board by up to 2. I think just not necessarily even just an evolved shaman, but of course that's where this will probably see the most play. A card that just, say you get a value trait and then you evolve it, honestly very powerful. I think Convincing Disguise is a high quality card. Alright, Muck Pools is a 1 mana location for Shaman, which is with 3 durability. Transform a friendly minion into one that costs 1 more. Again, I think just sort of in the same vein that we were just talking about with the last spell. This could see play in almost any Shaman deck. You know, the fact it's a location means you just play it down and you get the evolves effects for free, which effectively is 1 mana, you know, turns your 2-drop into a 3-drop, then your 3 into a 4. Gives you that value, especially if those minions manage to get a value trait first, and then you transform it, effectively heals them. I think Muck Pools alone is enough to make you want to make an evolved Shaman deck, but also could just go into pretty much any Shaman. Primordial Wave is a 3 mana Shaman spell. Transform enemy minions into ones that cost 1 less, and friendly minions into ones that cost 1 more. This is effectively like Devolve and Evolve combined into 1 Shaman spell. The one thing I have with this is that I don't know how often you end up going to want both of these effects to go off, unless of course your opponent has a board and you have enough mana to play 1 or 2 cheap minions and then you Primordial Wave to do them both just to get the extra value. But even if it was just a 3 mana Devolve and transform, like reduce your opponent's minions to ones that cost 1 less, I think that would see play as of itself. So again, because of that, definitely high quality, strong card. Now the other legendary for the Shaman in this case would be with the evolved Shaman is the Baroness Vashj. The Baroness Vashj. If this would transform into a minion, summon the minion instead. What that means is if you have, say, your location down, and then you play Baroness Vashj, and then you use the location on the Vashj, instead of transforming it into a 5-drop, you keep your 3/6, and then you get the 5-drop. That counts for any of your other evolve effects, which means that Baroness Vashj effectively doesn't just evolve to make more powerful minions, it actually gives you a board, potentially, of more powerful minions. I think even if all you played was the Muck Pool and Baroness Vashj, you'd be fine, because a 4 mana 3/6 isn't even that terrible, to be perfectly honest with you, if you absolutely had to play it on an empty board. And then, of course, if you get value off of it, 1 time is all you truly need, but if you could get it more than once, more than enough reason to make me want to play Evolved Shaman, and maybe you as well. Again, let me know in the comments down below what decks for Shaman and or Rogue you're the most excited for. I'll probably be trying to play as many as I possibly can on the channel, so let me know so I know maybe what to do first. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.